So recently, Sony overhauled their whole TV and soundbar lineup, and today we have the Bravia Theater Bar 9, which has a much more minimalistic and slimmer design than Sony's previous generation of soundbars. And I know that this is going to sound like a whole lot of marketing fluff, but the Bar 9 does a super impressive job of throwing sound behind and around you. Nonetheless, if you're looking for a Sony soundbar to complement your new Sony TV or any other TV, let's see what the Sony Bravia Theater Bar 9 is all about. Now, the Bar 9 can be used with any TV out there. However, if you use it with a compatible Sony TV that has acoustic center sync, then your TV's built-in speakers will work in conjunction with the soundbar and is going to give you a stronger center channel, and you're also going to have access to a lot of the quick settings directly from the TV itself. But in this video, we're going to be using the Bar 9 with a Sony X90L TV so that you can see acoustic center sync in action. Now, the Bar 9 is also a fully contained system, as in there is no external subwoofer. But if you want, you can always build out this soundbar with either of Sony's external subwoofers, like either the SW3 or the SW5, or you can also add rear satellite speakers like either the RS3s or the RS5s. Now, in this video, we're going to be using the Bar 9 by itself, but we're also going to see how it performs when it's fully built out with the SW5 subwoofer and the RS5 rear speakers. Now, if you want to pick any of these products up, they'll be linked down below, or you can always press on the YouTube shopping button. And if you want to further support the channel, pick up some merch. We have trucker hats, snapbacks, and shirts, and everything is printed on higher quality products, so they're gonna last you a good while. And by buying merch, that helps us produce more independent versus videos. Thank you to everyone who's bought a shirt or a hat, and let's get subscribed. So first, there's the design of this soundbar. Sony's new generation of soundbars are much slimmer and sleeker than their last generation of soundbars, because here we have the Bar 9, which is 51 inches by 2.5 inches, and it's 4.5 inches thick. And it weighs in at a little over 12 pounds, whereas with the HTA 5000, and this is technically a level below the Bar 9, meaning that the HTA 7000 is even bigger. The soundbar has a length of 48 inches by 3 inches, and it's 5.5 inches thick, and it weighs in at 14 pounds. So in general, Sony's new soundbars are just smaller and they're much sleeker looking because they now have a mostly fabric wrap body that does a great job of not reflecting any light and simply disappearing. Whereas with Sony's last generation of soundbars, these had a much more industrial design to them with visible drivers. However, it is important to point out that the Bar 9 no longer has a built-in display like with Sony's older generation of soundbars, and there are no media controls on the soundbar itself. So if you want to control this soundbar, everything either has to be done through the included remote, or if you're using this soundbar with a Sony TV, then you can always just use your TV's remote, or you can always just use the Bravia Connect app. However, there is a small indicator light on this speaker, which you can easily turn off through the app itself. But staying on the topic of design, obviously it's great that these soundbars are smaller and sleeker because now it's easier to place in your home theater setup, and since this soundbar is significantly lighter, it's also easier to wall mount, and this soundbar does come included with a wall mounting kit in the box. And when it comes to power, the Bar 9 does plug in via a double barrel AC port, but more importantly, there is no power brick that you have to worry about, so it's going to be a little easier to wire this soundbar into your home theater setup or wall mounting it. My only critique here is that I do feel that this power cable is a little too short. But when it comes to ports, the Bar 9 is very straightforward. It has an HDMI port that connects to your TV, and it also has an HDMI in port so that you can either plug in your Blu-ray player or PS5. And there's support for 8K HDR, but more importantly, 4K at 120. And if you're using a Sony TV, like we are here, this is where you'd plug in your audio cable for acoustic center sync to work. The only thing that I do have to point out here is that there is no optical port on this soundbar, but in general, you should be connecting your soundbar to your TV with an HDMI cable so that you can take full advantage of Dolby Atmos. And also, since the Bar 9 is the direct successor to the HTA 7000, I do have to point out that the Bar 9 has one less HDMI input than the HTA 7000, and there's also no analog input. But when it comes to general connectivity, the Bar 9 has support for both AirPlay 2 and Chromecast. So whether you're an iPhone user or an Android user, if you're connected to the same Wi-Fi network as this system, then you can always stream music to it. But also it does have Bluetooth support, which is good because this way you can easily let someone else play music on your system without having to share your Wi-Fi password. Now, the Bar 9 is also using Sony's new Bravia Connect app, and I feel that this is very important because this app is a lot nicer and sleeker than Sony's previous Music Center app. And from here, you can do things like adjust the settings of the system, you can adjust the sound of the system, and you can also go through the calibration process. And this calibration process has also been updated because it now uses your phone's built-in microphone, and you can also calibrate the system for where people are going to be sitting in the room. Overall, this app is a lot nicer and sleeker than before, and connectivity is much more stable. But also, if you use this system with a Sony TV, then you might not have to use this app all that much because you can very easily and quickly adjust the sound of this system from the TV itself. And personally, I really like this because if I'm gonna watch an action movie, then I'm gonna want to crank the bass up. But if I'm gonna watch the game, then I don't want all that much bass, but I want the rear speakers cranked all the way up. And like I mentioned earlier, the Bar 9 does come included with its own remote. But realistically, if you're gonna be using the Bar 9 with a Sony TV, then most of the options, you can just control it directly from the TV itself and just use your TV's remote. Or more realistically, you can always just use the Bravia Connect app over this remote. But with all that out of the way, let's talk about sound. Regarding speaker setup, the Bar 9 has a total of 8 speakers. It has 4 that shoot out the front, 2 that shoot out the sides, and 2 that shoot upwards for your verticality and Dolby Atmos effect. We also have 3 front-firing tweeters, and what makes the Bar 9 stand out from the Bar 8 is that it has 2 beam-forming tweeters that shoot out the sides, and it also has dual-pass radiators. Whereas with the HTA 5000 has a total of 5 speakers, 3 that shoot out the front and 2 that shoot upwards, and it also has front-firing subwoofers with exhaust ports that shoot out the sides, and it also has those dual beam-forming tweeters. Now, like I mentioned earlier, both of these soundbars are fully self-contained soundbars, as in they don't need an external subwoofer, which is good depending on your setup. But if you want, you can also add an external subwoofer from Sony, and or you can also add rear satellite speakers. And with both of these soundbars, if you use them with a compatible Sony TV, then you are going to be able to use acoustic center sync, where your TV's built-in speakers will work with your soundbar, and they're going to give you a stronger center channel. But now we're going to go ahead and jump into the sound test. Both of these soundbars are going to be playing at 60% volume, and they're both using acoustic center sync with our Sony X90L TV. We're also going to be using these soundbars while they're fully built out with the SW5 subwoofer set to 5, and we're also going to be using the RS5 rear satellite speakers set to max, and we're also going to be using the Sony X90L's built-in speakers at max volume.
Come on, Mike, slow down. We are late. My stomach, Mike. I need a ginger ale.
Get a ginger ale and nothing else.
Are those dogs fresh?
Put them in yesterday.
Give me one. Yeah, there you go.
Open the register.
Stay right there.
That Skittles on the counter, Marcus?
That's ain't mine, Mike.
Yes, it is.
Mind your business with your tarot throwing there.
Marcus, get in the car.
He has a gun to my head.
Want to deal with him? You want to deal with me?
Call 911.
Aren't you the police?
Hey, Reggie, you need my snacks?
No, sir.
You need to get a job.
I'm a U.S. Marine, sir.
But then you need to deploy.
Dad, look.
We now have evidence that the late Captain Conrad Howard of Miami PD was working with drug cartels for years.
Captain Howard's being frank. What the hell?
He's texting us from the other side.
I know he's not, Marcus.
If he's seeing this, I'm probably dead. I don't know how high up this goes, but I don't trust anyone.
You should be careful. You're being set up, detectives.
We got 2 suspects, Lowry and Burnett. They're armed and dangerous.
In 5, 4, 3.
No! It's the white balloon! It's flammable!
Lights up there, scientists.
Y'all are some terrible fugitives.
You my bad boy. I got this. What you don't know.
Are y'all stealing our clothes?
Just because we black, we still in your... What? Look at your shirt.
Why don't you sing us a little Reba song?
Reba.
Sing your favorite.
I'm a woman. I'm a strong black woman.
Yeah, because she's not black. What you gonna do? What you gonna...
That ain't no Reba song.
It's from her mixtape.
You should probably know that I have a really dark, unpredictable side to me. Stop speaking. I'm giving you a chance, sweetie.
Say what?
When?
What are you doing?
We are. No. Yeah, we are. You're gonna need to work on that.
Let us! You take me to all the finest places!
I need time, love.
We always knew it was impossible. That we were alone in the universe. And it's our job to make sure that remains a secret.
Let's go get him. Oh, shit! We are fugitives. On the run. In the shit.
You're living the dream, my friend.
You need to go!
This is shit. There has to be a reason they're after us.
Eddie, my home, has found us.
There's an army coming that cannot be beaten.
As long as there was that we wanted, everything will end.
You may not make it out of this alive, buddy.
Eddie, the time has come.
Be honest with me. How fast do you think you can get that thing to go without killing it?
Only one way to find out.
So first off, your TV most likely just has a pair of downward firing speakers that bounce sound off of the table. They don't get all that loud, and at higher volumes, the bass becomes a rattling mess. And since TVs are getting slimmer and slimmer, these speakers need to get smaller and smaller. However, if you have a more premium TV, like the Sony X90L like we're using today, the built-in speakers on this TV sound and perform better. The bass doesn't get as distorted and they get decently loud. However, the built-in speakers on this TV are going to be better suited for listening to dialogue with, and if you want to get a better movie watching experience, then you do want to invest in a soundbar at least. Now, when it comes to the overall performance of the Bar 9 compared to Sony's last generation of soundbars, I do have to point out that the Bar 9 doesn't get as loud or have as much bass as the HTA 5000. Now, don't get me wrong, the Bar 9 still gets loud enough to fill a large room with sound, and it still has enough physicality in its bass so you can feel what's happening on the screen. But the HTA 5000 does get louder and it has more kick in its bass. So if you're going to be going from an HTA 5000 or HTA 7000 to a Bar 9, then you are going to notice that you're going to have to increase the volume a little more than you would with Sony's last generation of soundbars. However, even though the Bar 9 doesn't get as loud as the HTA 5000 and it does have a little less kick in its bass, what the Bar 9 does have is better instrument separation. So with the Bar 9, it sounds more open than Sony's previous generation of soundbars, and the Bar 9 also does a better job of bringing out those more subtle background sounds, and it also does a better job of bringing people's voices out. Now, I've always really liked Sony's last generation of soundbars because they always had a lot of bass without needing an external subwoofer, but they were always super big compared to their direct competitors, and they didn't sound as open as their direct competitors. But now, with this new generation of soundbars, they're slimmer and sleeker, and they have much better openness. And like I mentioned at the top of this video, I know that this is going to sound like a whole lot of marketing fluff, but the Bar 9 by itself does a really good job of throwing sound behind and around you. Because there were multiple times where I was using the Bar 9 by itself, and it really did sound like things were behind you or moving from the back of the room to the front of the room. And overall, this improved instrument separation on the Bar 9 is going to give you a better Dolby Atmos experience. But obviously, if you want a better surround sound experience, and if you want to better feel what's happening on the screen, then you can always build out the Bar 9 with Sony's rear satellite speakers and external subwoofer. And obviously, if you have the rear satellite speakers, you're going to get a much better surround sound experience because things that are happening in the background are going to be a lot more pronounced. Your overall volume is going to be louder, and obviously, the external subwoofer is going to rattle the walls in your house way more than what the soundbar can do by itself. But the difference between a fully built out Bar 9 versus a fully built out HTA 5000 is going to be that the vocals on the Bar 9 are going to be a lot more pronounced than on the HTA 5000, and those smaller details are going to come out more with the Bar 9, because with the HTA 5000, the bass can overpower the vocals and smaller details. And also, keep in mind, if you were to use either of these two soundbars with an external subwoofer, all of the bass is going to be covered by the external subwoofer. The built-in subwoofers in the HTA 5000 and the built-in pass radiators on the Bar 9 will be deactivated. So with all that being said, from a performance standpoint, the Bravia Theater Bar 9 doesn't get as loud as Sony's last generation of soundbars, and it has less kick in its bass. However, the Bar 9 still gets more than loud enough to fill a large room with sound, and it has enough bass so that you can feel what's happening on the screen. You're probably just going to have to use the soundbar at a higher volume if you're moving from the HTA 5000 or HTA 7000. But this new generation of soundbar from Sony has better instrument separation, and it does a better job of bringing people's voices out. So when you're watching a movie, it's going to be much easier to understand people, and you're also going to be able to hear those smaller details, like let's say cartridges hitting the floor, keys jingling, or stairs creaking, or let's say a helicopter is just flying into the scene. And also there's the fact that the Bar 9 does a very impressive job of throwing sound behind and around around you without actually needing rear satellite speakers. And the Bar 9 does all of this while being in a smaller and a sleeker package. So the Bar 9 is going to be much easier to place in your home theater setup, or it's going to be much easier to wall mount. And the Bar 9 now has a much more minimalistic design to it, and it does a much better job of just simply disappearing. Now, the Bar 9 works with any TV out there. However, if you use it with a compatible Sony TV with acoustic center sync, then your TV's built-in speakers will work in conjunction with the soundbar and is going to give you a stronger center channel, and you're going to also be able to easily adjust the sound settings directly from the TV itself. And the Bar 9 sounds great all on its own, but if you want, you can always build it out with rear satellite speakers and or an external subwoofer so that you can get the movie theater experience at home. If you made it this far, I guess you enjoyed the video, so hit the like button and get subscribed. If you want to pick any of the products up, they'll be linked down below. And if you want to further support the channel, check out the merch. I made some shirts and hoodies that look and feel great. And you know I can be very particular, so I'll only slap my name on something if I'm really proud of it.